Hi, I'm Erica, and I hope your week is off to a fantastic start. I'm thrilled that you're here, and if you're new to the Tea Minds, then welcome. This is a lovely, warm, cosy space where we pause for tea so that we can reconnect with ourselves, rebalance our mind, body, and spirit, and learn how to savour those precious moments before they slip away. In each episode, we explore how something as simple as a cup of tea can be a gateway to mindfulness, mental fitness, and learning to be more present in the way that we live. With inspiring tea routines, thought-provoking insights, and heartfelt conversations with amazing guests, this is your time to pause, rebalance, and thrive. Life is fast, but your tea doesn't have to be. So pop the kettle on, grab your favourite mug, and let's dive into the art of living with a tea mind. Great. So, hi, today I am delighted to welcome an extraordinary guest, Rachel Hanretty, founder of Mademoiselle Macarons. Rachel is an award-winning entrepreneur who spent over a decade bringing a taste of Paris to the UK through her exquisite handmade French macarons. Rachel's journey began when she was just 23, launching her own business from the kitchen table after studying in Paris. And since then, she's navigated the highs and the lows of entrepreneurship, of which I'm sure there have been many, scaling to, I think it's 35,000 macarons a week. That's probably gone up by now or something like that. Up and down.
Okay.
Juggling retail and online sales and learning many lessons about resilience, ambition, and adapting to change. So Rachel's not just a businesswoman, she's also a storyteller, a stand-up comedy enthusiast, and a champion for female entrepreneurship. And her insights on balancing business and motherhood and knowing when to pivot and redefining success make her a real inspiration for entrepreneurs and people everywhere. Oh, and did I also mention that her macarons made a surprise appearance on the set of the Barbie movie? I'll let her tell you that story herself. So grab your favourite tea and settle in, and let's dive into the wonderful world of Rachel's macarons and mindful business growth. Rachel, welcome to the Tea Mind podcast.
Oh, thank you. What an introduction. Gosh, I feel so I don't know, kind of want to disappear. That was very generous of you. Thank you. But thank you for just the opportunity of getting to speak and to share things. I think it helps me sometimes when you get asked a question, you didn't know that you needed to know the answer, if that makes sense. So questions definitely help.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about from starting Mademoiselle at 23 at your kitchen table. What was the moment that made you say, this is what I'm going to do. This is my business. Tell me more about that.
Well, I kind of went cold turkey. It wasn't I'll try this and then launch it properly. I was quite young, so I had the benefit of naivety and youth. That I'd graduated with a degree in English and French. I was trying to find a full-time job. I was getting like knocked back. It was really dented my confidence, but I was lucky to work part-time for Women's Enterprise Scotland, and it was a flexible role. I could work remotely if I wanted to, which is quite rare back in, what was that, like 13 years ago. And I was surrounded by all these women in business. It was just like exposure to all these role models who really demystified the idea of starting a business, the scariness of becoming self-employed. And I guess I always think things happen for a reason, but couldn't get a job.
Mhm.
Um, was surrounded by women in business, and I had entered a business competition while I was still at university, which is when the business idea actually started. But it was just more of a procrastination thing than it was intentional. So yeah, I just thought, okay, if you're gonna do it, do it. And I made them at home and I sold them at food markets, and it just got traction and it grew and grew and grew. Um, and it's been very reactive growth. I can't say it's been proactive. Sometimes I say to people, I don't think I'm good at being a business owner, a businesswoman, because I haven't had a strategy. I've not, set my eyes on something, worked solely towards it. What I have done is made decisions difficult and sometimes easy. There aren't many easy decisions, but I've made difficult decisions when I've had to, rather than sort of live in a little bubble of ignorance and whatnot. And I think that that's probably saved me. That's probably why I'm still going 12 years later. And obviously, as many business owners are experiencing right now, it's a scary time to be in business. We don't know what the future is going to hold.
Yeah, you can say that again. You definitely need your nerves about you at this time. And yeah, just what you were saying about naivety. I think if we didn't have that naivety when we were starting a business, people would probably never do it because if you knew everything that goes into it and all the ups and downs, yeah, you probably wouldn't do it. And then also making difficult business decisions. You've had to, obviously every business has ups and downs, and opening and closing spaces as well is something that I am familiar with. And I know you had a shop in Edinburgh at one point and you had to make the decision to close that. Can you tell me more about that and what you've learned from it? And yeah, because I'm sure there'll be lots of lessons there.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about sort of being more reactive rather than proactive growth, it was closing the shop was a result of having a massive increase in our rent. And by that point, we had an industrial unit in Leith. So we were manufacturing separate from retail. Uh, and got that news from the landlord. And it was just like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to try and make it work, or are you just going to cut your losses and almost become more profitable overnight? Because, in my opinion, having bricks and mortar retail sort of cafe is a business in its own right. To also be running a trade manufacturing e-commerce business is a separate business. Both require different things, different skills, different staffing levels, and I didn't have it in me to run two businesses at the same time. So, but I think when I closed the shop, from a PR angle, people thought it was failure. But in actual fact, I think it was strength. And I think that to go overnight to, yeah, have a drop in turnover, but to have a boost in profitability is something that we maybe don't talk about because we use vanity metrics more than actual success metrics. So, yeah, but you can't really put that on a window to say you're closed. That I've done this for this reason. But yeah,
Yeah, I agree. We don't talk about that enough. And I went through a very similar decision, and it's all about, you were talking about strategy earlier as well. And I think having that focus, I always think of that analogy of sort of chasing rabbits. If you're trying to chase three rabbits, you're going to end up catching none. But if you pick one, you've got more of a chance of getting it. And that's where I got to when we had our tea room in Edinburgh. It was a sort of standalone business, and to do it properly and to keep going and to grow it, it needed 100% focus. Whereas we are really focused on tea and growing that side of the business and the trade and e-commerce. So yeah, it's made etiquette 100% stronger. And yes, the drop in turnover, but much more profitable now as a result. And I think that is something that we need to be a lot more focused on and a lot more just honest about and vocal about, that yeah, it's all about profit rather than turnover, and we need to have that stable foundation as well to be able to grow.
yeah. I just have to pause for a moment and apologize. There is background noise here. The dog is having its own breakdown. Is it? I'm just going to close the door properly.
No
Um,
problem. We can't hear anything. It is all good.
that's just a live reality. Uh, so long as you can't hear anything, that's okay. But let me know.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like strategy, making plans as well. Like I've given up making plans more than 3 months ahead. So now we plan for sort of 90 days at a time and really focus on that, because honestly, after the past however many years it's been, you can't predict a year, 2 years, five. Who would plan for 5 years ahead? We've no idea what's going to happen. So hats off to anyone that can do it, but in my opinion, it's just going to change anyway. So
I think for me, I'm viewing strategy more as like guiding principles or like it's going to be a reference point so that when the inevitable fire erupts and you have to go and firefight. If I have done exercises to do competitor analysis to review what our strengths are, to review what our weaknesses are, then it gives me comfort that I have that as a tool. But 100% agree with you, it's almost going to be a waste of time to say, here's my 5-year plan. I'm gonna get there. I think there's a time and a place for that approach, especially if you are trying to raise money and you're going to investors, they want to know when they're going to get their capital back. Understandable. Um, but yes, it's I just the word strategy is has been a mental hurdle I've struggled to get over, and it's only just recently changing with the support of a business program. But to go back to the shop and sort of turnover, profitability, change in business model, I think that our external entrepreneurial support organizations need to stop measuring success based on two metrics, which is number of staff and turnover. We are not talking enough about profitability. Actually, I think there's four. Do you export? How many staff do you have? What's your turnover? And do you have investment?
yeah.
And I think that that is a very short term way of measuring success. And there have been times recently when I'm like 12 years in business, oh my goodness, I'm not where I should be because according to all the other metrics, I should be at this level, having achieved this, that, and next thing. So yeah, but I'm glad
Yeah.
we're able to bring in the conversation around profitability, business sense, practicalities. And obviously founder mental health is a huge part or should be a huge part in your strategy and in where you want to go. And I think that I don't know. I think the difficulty or the slight negative of having run a business for so long is over time, your mental resilience does drop a wee bit. It can also be a strength because you're like, been here before, got over it, it'll be fine. But it's been a long time. It does chip away a little bit. My life now is not um a 23-year-old, and it's like, oh, don't know if I can keep doing this to myself. Um, I don't do exercise, unfortunately. I wish I could sit here and tell you that I do Pilates and yoga twice a week. I do not. But yeah, I know I could do more to make myself more resilient when dealing with these emotional and mental ups and downs as a business owner. But it's a vicious it's a vicious circle because you need more time to do yoga and Pilates twice a week, but you need to spend all your time on growing your business because you're going to get to a point where that will let you have the time for yoga and Pilates. So it's like, um, but if you do the yoga and Pilates and it'll help you grow the business, it's wild. So I know that a big thing for me is really small, but it has been really effective. I started it in the new year that I had a gratitude journal lying around for ages, and I would kind of like go in and go out, and I'd fill out sometimes, fill out in the morning, fill out in the evening. And I just thought, right, let's get serious about this. Let's take 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening to just get it out. And sometimes it was like, why are you grateful? And it would be because my bed is cozy. You're grateful at the end of the day because I had a really nice dinner. Really small things, but it just it gets you out of that negative freedom mind or that high cortisol level of thinking. Um, Takes you out of that for just a couple of minutes. And I truly believe that the impact it can have is massive. It's a ripple effect.
Hmm.
And the other thing that I've started since the new year is I downloaded an app and I did a manifestation challenge with Gabby Bernstein. I don't know if
Oh
you've
yes, I know Gabby. Yeah, I don't know her, but I follow her work.
I've dipped in and out of her work over, gosh, a long, long time. And as I say, she got this app, and the beauty of it is that there's a lot of 2 minute meditations. So
Hmm.
I don't have 30 minutes to sit and really tune in. Again, I wish I did. I wish I was doing that and my yoga, and my Pilates, and everything. Um, but that app and then the app Insight Timer,
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's got short meditations. I've done them on the bus, um, into work. It's it means that for me, I don't have much time for me. I don't have much time for hobbies. And a few months ago, I would really berate myself because be like, you're not doing this well enough. You're not giving yourself enough time. This isn't going well. Da 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 da. Um, and 2 minutes, well, it's not 30 minutes, 2 minutes is actually a big achievement. So,
yeah.
um,
And if that's something that you can do a few times a week, the cumulative effect of it is going to be huge, and it's much better doing that rather than saying, right, I'm going to do 20 minutes. You maybe do it 4 times 1 month and 2 times the next month, and you feel guilty the whole other time. So yeah, you're completely speaking my language. And these are the sort of tea routines that we talk about at the Tea Mind. And we've got lots of little like 3 minute tea meditations. So while you're drinking your tea, just like a guided body scan or different tea meditations and journaling prompts and things. So yeah, it's all about these little tiny habits and anchoring to something that you're already doing, whether it's a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or every time you're on the bus or whatever it is, just anchoring it to something you're already doing to make it stick a little bit more effectively.
yeah, I also just on Saturday, it really is quite a new thing for me working actively on my mental health. I think I just got to this point where it's like I can no longer carry this guilt. I can no longer carry this judgment. It's so heavy and I've got so much else to do. Um, that on Saturday I would go for a walk on Portobello Beach while my daughter's at gymnastics with her dad, and I bought myself a coffee and I really sat and tasted the coffee. And I know that with tea it's a similar story that you're gulping things, you're like grab coffee, grab a tea, grab a water, stay hydrated. But to stop and be like, oh, that's lovely, then
Yeah.
your appreciation just skyrockets. And again, that's 2 minutes, 1 minute that just elevates your day. So at the end of the day, I'm writing in my gratitude journal, what are you grateful for? I had a great cup of coffee. Finally got to taste this or whatever. So yeah, I'm little and often is where I'm at the moment. And a few months ago, it was like, why have you not written the novel? That over here, I've got a wall planned out my novel, and I look at it and I'm like, why are you not writing it? Why is it not written? Um, but I'm trying to be kinder to myself.
Yeah.
So.
Curse of the entrepreneur. So with so many things that you want to do competing for your attention. I really loved what you said about gratitude practices and just how even tiny little things that can just help to rewire your brain. And I heard someone say, I can't remember who it was, but someone said recently, every time they wake up in the morning, before they do anything or before they even open their eyes, they just say, I'm so grateful that I've got a lovely comfy pillow, and I'm so grateful that I'm warm and I've got a nice duvet and whatever, just simple things like that. And I've started doing that for the past few weeks. And actually, it makes waking up a lot nicer because I get up slowly. I become more mindful and just think, actually, I am very lucky. I've got this, I've got that, and I can do this. So, yeah, I do that whole sort of morning routine, which is something that can also put the fear of death into people.
The other thing I did and I changed was for Christmas I got a Lumi clock.
Oh,
You know, the
yeah.
one that it mimics sunrise. So that takes away the stress of like the alarm. And then the other thing I've done is again, an app on my phone is block certain apps during certain times, so I can access social media until after 8 in the morning. Um, and normally after 8 in the morning, I'm on the way to work. I'm awake, so that's very healthy. And in my email app as well, I can't check emails when I wake up. Um,
See,
so
I've done that on my phone as well, but it makes it too easy to change it because if I go on something, it'll be like, "Do you want to add on 10 minutes?" Yeah.
oh, you've got to find the right app.
Yeah. Oh, I'll need to, yeah, you can share what the app is then maybe afterwards because that would be very useful.
Yeah, it was a real faff to set up, so I don't think I'll undo it. I don't think I know how, so definitely the way to go to make it stick.
So yeah, just from everything that I know about you as well, you're very ambitious and but you're also willing to laugh at yourself at the same time. So how do you think humor has helped you sort of navigate the highs and lows of business?
So I do like to do a wee bit of comedy, and I think myself, but also Scottish people in general, are really predisposed to being very self-deprecating. And it's that old phrase of if you don't laugh, you cry. And I would get I get it helps me to sort of look back and almost sort of say, what was I doing? Like that is mad, and make that into a joke. And maybe it's a negative personality trait. I'm not sure. Being an oversharer. So I'll write these LinkedIn posts and I'll be like, this happened and then this happened. And I'll post it and I'll be like, oh, is it too much? But then I'll get a wee comment or someone will ping me a message and say, I love that you shared that. And that's great. It's just that's the way I operate. I maybe it's also remnants of my upbringing at Catholic school, my very Catholic grandmother, of not being able to tell a lie. Like I can't always paint a rosy picture. I'm naturally an open book. So definite pros and cons to that though.
Well, I think it's very refreshing, and certainly everyone in the business community really appreciates it. We look forward to your LinkedIn posts. And you put one up really recently about motherhood and how difficult that juggle is with running a business as well. And I wonder what sort of advice you would give to just other people that are juggling, whether it's running a business or just a career and navigating motherhood at the same time.
I would say there is no winning. Like whatever you do, you will be judged for it, for sure. Um, so I guess like recently, I was saying that having a baby, having a child, did hinder the growth of the business. It did mean that things happened while I wasn't there, or I made decisions while I was sleep deprived that I shouldn't have. And there's no getting away from that. It's the truth. And I got some people saying, "Oh, but they're only little ones, but you have to savor the moment." And I'm like, yes, but as a business owner, I was still responsible for employing, at the time, like 15 to 20 people, or at one point more than that. Um, and so you're looking after this child, but you're also looking after this baby, which is your business. And both of them are really big and important in different ways. And I don't think that you can just do one over the other. You have to find a way to do both at the same time. And what I've found is that doing both at the same time um, led to guilt, judgment from others, fear, exhaustion, burnout, everything. And I think the other thing that people don't really talk about with motherhood is there's the newborn phase, there's the baby phase. They turn one. Typically, that's when women would go back to work, or you're like, right, I'm like, they can sit up on their own, like they're on solids, job done. But it actually took me until she was about 2.5-ish, to feel like I had myself back. And it's actually proved that a woman's body and all her hormones don't go back to what they were before she was pregnant until 2 years postpartum. So I felt that mental shift, that physical and emotional shift. Um, and it's like it wasn't postpartum depression. I wasn't depressed. Um, I didn't have a traumatic birth. There had been no trauma, but it had been really hard. It had been put pressure on every aspect of my life that no one told me it would. Um, and so I think that's why I like being honest because I just don't think I had that honesty around me. And I don't think we talk enough about like how long it takes or how long it's like a constant journey. Um, and yeah, I definitely so she was 3 last week and I'm like, okay, I think she's good. I think I can do a bit of this, but there's different challenges all the time. And I think that I just know I'll never win. So I may as well just take um win according to my own standards. So yeah, it's a work in progress is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think we don't talk enough about just the challenges of doing both those things at the same time. And just, I mean, everyone's different, everyone's children are different as well, but sleep deprivation is a real thing. And if you're trying to juggle really stressful decision making and all sorts of things that are maybe really difficult to deal with, that can be very difficult on your mental well-being as well.
Yeah,
Just
that's
yeah.
how I say you can't win because if you're sleep deprived and you wait until your child's sleeping through the night or whatever, that's maybe too late. You needed to make the decision in that state to avoid the asteroid hitting the business Earth. You can't wait until your child's in school or in nursery to then turn your attention to business. Now, that's not true of all business owners. I think it's more true about a larger business with employees. If you're self-employed with just yourself as a consultant, as a freelancer, I think it is a wee bit easier but harder in different ways. Um, but yeah, there's no time, or there is time, but there's less flexibility when it comes to get to being in the right frame of mind. Like you just have to be for certain business things at the same time as your frame of mind is exhausted. Yeah,
Yeah.
so and that's what I mean that I don't think you can win. That you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If I do this now, this will happen. If I don't do this now, this might happen. Because at the end of the day, my child needs me to function and needs a roof over her head. If I don't look at the business and make difficult decisions when they need to be made at that moment in time, then I'm not I'm not going to be able to be there for her and give her what I want to.
And I would take heart as well in the fact that it does get easier as they get older. My kids are a little bit older now, and yeah, I look back on those days when I don't know, there was probably a period of about 7 years where I was just sleep deprived from having two children. It was
Don't say that. It's a long
challenging.
time.
But now, um, because we've sort of been through so much together, like certainly through lockdown and so on, like homeschooling was um, getting orders out and they were helping me. There was no choice. So they've learned a lot through that and it's made them more resilient as well. And I think they see things from different perspectives and they really appreciate the value of money and work and how they create money. So they've learned a lot of lessons along that way as well. And I think if they can see you, like as your daughter grows up and she'll see what you do, and I think that'll be really inspiring for her and she'll learn a lot of lessons from it. So yeah, it will all be worth it in the end. Crossing our fingers here.
Yeah.
Um, I'm conscious of time because you've got to dash away today, but I have to ask you about the Barbie movie. You've worked for some amazing corporate customers. You do these incredible bespoke macarons. But yeah, tell me more about the famous Barbie movie. What happened there?
Um, yeah, it was a bit of a funny one. And I think that so there are lots of macaron companies out there. Our more competitive advantages were really um we're set up to scale, we're set up to make a lot, we're set up to do quick turnaround times, bespoke products. So we do get these amazing inquiries that come out of the blue, and we had the emails just like, oh, we're looking for this. It's for the Barbie film. They would be in blue, yellow, orange, and pink. Um, is this something you do? What's the price? Da, 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 da. And in the email signature and the email address is the set designer at Warner Brothers Studio. And you're like, I can actually be the set designer of the Barbie film. That's wild. Um, and it turns out it absolutely was, because the delivery address was quite like simple. Barbie film set, Warner Brothers Studios, London. There was
Amazing.
no, because people were saying to me, "Are you sure they didn't get it just for like an event, like on set for the team, the staff?" Stuff like that. Now, when we watched the Barbie film and we were looking for them, I saw them for maybe like half a second because the film was very fast moving, and it was the scene that they were in a cafe scene. I can't remember. It wasn't too long before America Ferrera did her speech about how women can't have it all. Uh, so that felt quite apt. But yeah, it was just that we got this inquiry, and I really believe that our team are able to speak to our customers really effectively, to have a great product, to be able to turn things around, and to just give our corporate customers, I think what they're looking for is peace of mind and ease. And we're just like, you want 300 macarons? No problem. You'll have them on Thursday. So yeah.
Wow.
That's come from after years and years. That's not an overnight thing. I couldn't have just whipped up 300 macarons in four colors.
I bet
Uh,
you could for the Barbie movie. You'd have been up
for the
all night
Barbie
doing
film, yeah.
it.
I have to say that it wasn't, and I always like to say this because I think it's really important that wasn't just me. That was a whole team. It was more the team than it was me. So. Yeah, I always when I get asked this question because it created such a buzz, and it was a buzz that I just wasn't anticipating. We just happened to put out a newsletter and a post the night before the film was had come out in the cinemas. We were like, "Oh, did you know we did this?" And then we got these requests from BBC Scotland Radio, the Daily Mail. Like it was so random. We did not go looking for it. And I was speaking and I was giving the interviews, and I did feel a wee bit like a fraud because, yeah, it's my business, but someone else made the macarons, the team that made the macarons. There's a team packing them and ensuring that they got there, a team doing the all important invoicing. Um, that is not me. And I actually really struggled with that at the time, a lot of imposter syndrome. But I've had access to a business coach kind of periodically over the last few years. It came about from a program for women in business. And she helped me see that although I hadn't actively with my own hands made that, packed that, fulfilled that order, I have over years and years created a business and a setup that allowed all of that to take place without me. And you and I have talked about metrics, success metrics. It's not necessarily turnover, it's about how well your team can function when you're not there. So,
Yeah,
in that
definitely.
regard, maybe I have been more successful, and sometimes I give myself credit.
Yeah, I would, yeah, take a pause while you're having your cup of tea or coffee today and just reflect on the amazing success and everything you've achieved so far because it's been incredible. And Mademoiselle Macaron is an amazing business. And I know you've set your sights high on sort of growing the business. What's your vision for the future and how do you see it evolving?
That is a tricky one, um, because we did a workshop with the sort of senior members of the team, And our 10-year goal was we're going to go open in Paris, we're going to have a presence in Paris and London, and we're going to have our recipe book will be published, and we'll have all this exciting thing, all these exciting big grand things. And I really like the idea of that, and it is something I want to do, but it's all about balance, right? And I want to, at the same time, maybe question that and say, what about being more socially responsible? I would love to create a program for women returning to work after career, long breaks due to perhaps raising a family, other caring responsibilities. I work with Edinburgh Women's Aid as a board member, and I would love to work with women who've been victims of domestic abuse, just creating a sort of program that they can get back into work, get a qualification, food qualification with us in a supportive environment. That needs its own funding. That's not a profitable exercise. It's profitable in other ways because it's giving back. But we're not at that stage yet to offer that. That's part of the vision and the ambition. I would love to, for me, it's about, and involves tea, right? It's about creating moments of luxury. And macarons aren't, they're small. You can go and get four cupcakes for the price of two macarons, I'm sure. Um, but we like to, with our packaging, people open the box. It's a nice high quality box, and we want them to savor them. And I'd love to expand on that sort of experience of moments by creating hampers. So like a moment of self-care, date night moment, other little moments, and expand our product range. I think that we will have to expand our product range in order to grow further. So that is kind of our next big thing. Again, it's a slightly different business. You're starting to hold stock in a way that we don't hold stock. We're fortunate in that we pay for the ingredients, we make the thing, we sell the thing, we get the money. So rather than we buy things in, hold them until someone buys them, and that might be 3 months later, 6 months later, next week. We'll have to put money aside for stock for non-perishable goods in a way we've just not done before, and that's slightly scary, puts a different demand on cash flow and whatnot. But I'd love to essentially just take the business in the direction of growth and ambition in a way that is responsible, sustainable, and in a way inspirational. Like I want other people to start their own businesses. I'd love to have enough money to be a female investor into female-led businesses. There are a lot of statistics about how we've started to go back the way. So fewer women are starting businesses now compared to a couple of years ago, and women just aren't getting access to the same levels of funding as male-led businesses. So that's a bit of a large answer to your question. But in terms of ambition, it goes from up to the really exciting, fun, open a shop in Paris to the let's do a wee bit of giving back. And hopefully both can be done at the same time. Um, who
I'm
knows?
sure if anyone can do it, you can do it. And yeah, I can't wait to see what you do next. Whatever direction of travel you go in, I'm sure it will be fantastic and inspirational and values driven and will really help a lot of people and also bring those little moments of luxury, like you say, to everybody's day. And I can't tell you, your macarons are just like that moment really stays with you. Like I remember those little moments whenever I've had your wonderful macarons. Like it's more you really remember it because there's so much to it. It really does use all your senses and it's just incredible. So just to close now, I just wanted to maybe if you could share your one maybe top tip if someone was having a cup of tea today, maybe what would your favorite tea or drink of choice be? And if you could do a little tea routine, a little 3 minute exercise while you're having your drink today, what would that be to help you just boost your mental well-being or make yourself a little bit happier today?
I guess there are three points in the day that I could choose from to answer that. Um, in the morning, it's making the coffee. Smelling the coffee beans if I'm adding more to the coffee machine. I love that. Um, it's that slowing down thing. So sometimes I'll start the coffee and then I'll go and put the dishes away and then I'll come back. But other times I'll actually just stay at the machine and make the coffee. So maybe just making your cup of tea and just making your cup of coffee or whatever it is, boiling the kettle, just do that. Just do that rather than do quickly put on the washing while the kettle is boiling. We all do it, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, just focus on that. And then I really got into chai before bed, like really milky chai tea. And this sounds really silly. Well, with the chai, I put the milk in a saucepan and heat it on in a saucepan rather than try and microwave anything or do something like that. And that was quite nice because it felt very pure. Um, and I really enjoyed that. And in the afternoon, again, maybe something silly. And I'm giving you three moments throughout the day of when
even
you're
better.
having a moment of to just make yourself a cuppa. Um, sounds so silly. But if it's really hot, just blowing on it, like putting your hands around the cup. I will use my etiquette tea as a representative of a cup. But just take a moment rather than gulping because we're so busy, just to be like, okay, like wait until you can drink this. You cannot throw it down your neck. So yes, those are my 3 points in the day where couple of minutes, just make the cuppa, just boil the kettle and focus on making it. Don't drink it quickly and make it in a very slow way. Yeah,
I
those are
love
my
that. Yeah, just those mindful moments throughout the day, and even better if you can do it alongside a little macaron as well.
well,
So
we do make an Earl Grey tea macaron, so not that I'm biased or anything.
that would be perfect. Perfect mindful moment, just using all your senses. And yeah, it's just those little moments of awareness where you can just do a little check-in and realize if you're particularly tense anywhere and just relax your body or realize if you've been procrastinating, putting something off. It's just building in those little moments of awareness really do make a huge difference to how much you can get from your day and just realizing those little pockets of happiness, those little moments, which we can then tap into. And when you're doing your gratitude practice at the end of the day or whenever, you're more likely to remember those little moments then as well. So yeah, it's all important. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the T Mind podcast, Rachel. I could literally speak to you for hours, and I know we did speak for about an hour before before we started recording. There's just so much to sort of share and to help each other with as well. So
Well,
yeah,
I would
maybe we'll
definitely like to speak to you for longer, but 100% there's just so much to talk about. But need to get on with running businesses, eh? Both of us.
exactly. Great. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure everyone's found a lot of inspiration from everything you've shared today. And I just encourage everyone to take one little tea routine, probably a mindful moment or a little gratitude practice, and just carry that forward into your week this week. So, yeah, thank you very much for being on the Tea Mind podcast.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I encourage you to consider one idea that you could take forward into your own life today. If you found this useful, please share so that we can bring more people along on this Tea Mind journey with us. And just a little disclaimer to note that the content shared on the Tea Mind podcast and web pages are for informational and inspirational purposes only and are not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis or treatment. Always seek the advice of your doctor or qualified healthcare professional with any questions that you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you've heard on this podcast. The hosts and contributors of the T-Mind podcast disclaim any liability for decisions made based on the information provided. Always consult a professional for your individual needs.